A Sound of Thunder by Bradbury. The sign on the wall seemed to be moving under a thin film of warm water. Eccles closed his eyes for a moment. The sign burned into his memory. Time Safari, Inc. Safaris to any year in the past. You name the animal, we take you there. You shoot it. Warm liquid gathered in Eccles' throat. He swallowed and pushed it down. The muscles around his mouth formed a smile as he put his hand slowly out upon the air. In that hand he waved a check for $10,000 to the man behind the desk. "Don't I get some kind of document promising that I'll come back alive?" "We promise nothing," said the official, "except the dinosaurs." He turned. "This is Mr. Travis, your safari leader in the past. He'll tell you what and where to shoot. If he says no shooting, no shooting. If you don't do as he says, you'll have to pay another $10,000, plus face possible government action upon your return." Eccles looked quickly across the large office. Hundreds of wires snaking together so as to look like a single mass gave off a low, continuous sound. Metal boxes gave off ever-changing bands of light, now orange, now silver, now blue. There was a sound like a huge fire burning all of time, all the years and all the calendars and all the hours piled high and set on fire. "Unbelievable," Eccles breathed, the lights from the machine on his thin face. A real time machine. He shook his head. "Makes you think. If the election had gone badly yesterday, I might be here now, running away from the results. Thank God Keith won. He'll make a fine president of the United States." "Yes," said the man behind the desk. "We're lucky. If Deutscher had gotten in, we'd have the worst kind of government. There's a man who's for war, but against everything else. Against religion, against helping people, and against people knowing too much. People called us up, joking but not joking. They said if Deutscher became president, they'd wanted to go and live in 1492. Of course, it's not our business to sell escapes, but to run safaris. Anyway, Keith is president now. All you gotta worry about is shooting my dinosaur." Eccles finished it for him. "A Tyrannosaurus Rex, the king of dinosaurs, the most amazing monster in history. Sign this form saying that if anything happens to you, we're not responsible. Those dinosaurs are hungry." Eccles' face turned red. "Are you trying to scare me?" he said angrily. "To be honest, yes. We don't want anyone going who will get scared and do something silly at the first sign of danger. 6 safari guides were killed last year, and 12 hunters. We're here to give you the most exciting experience a real hunter ever asked for, taking you back 60 million years to shoot the biggest game in all of time. Your personal check's still there. Tear it up." Mr. Eccles looked at the check. There was a small movement of his fingers. "Good luck," said the man behind the desk. "Mr. Travis, he's all yours." They moved silently across the room, taking their guns with them, toward the machine, toward the silver metal and the roaring light. First a day, and then a night, and then a day, and then a night. Then it was day, night, a week, a month, a year, 10 years, AD 2055, AD 2019, 1999, 1957, gone. The machine roared. They put on their oxygen helmets and tested the radios. Eccles moved from side to side on the soft seat, his face white, his mouth closed tightly. He felt his arms shaking and looked down and found his hands tight on the new rifle. There were 4 other men in the machine. Travis, the safari leader, his assistant, L'Esperance, and 2 other hunters, Billings and Kramer. They sat looking at each other as the years flew by around them. "Can these guns kill a dinosaur with one shot?" Eccles felt his mouth saying. "If you hit him right," said Travis on the helmet radio. "Some dinosaurs have 2 brains, one in the head, another further down the backbone. We stay away from those. That's too dangerous. Put your first 2 shots in the eyes, if you can. They'll blind them and go back into the brain." The machine screamed. Time was a film run backward. Suns went quickly by, and 10 million moons went by after them. "Think," said Eccles. "Every hunter that ever lived would love to be us today. This makes Africa seem like Illinois." The machine slowed. Its scream fell to a whisper. The machine stopped. The sun stopped in the sky. The fog that had been around the machine blew away. They were in an old time. Very old time indeed. 3 hunters and 2 safari guides with their blue metal guns across their knees. "The first human isn't born yet," said Travis. "The pyramids are still in the earth, waiting to be cut out and built. Remember that. Alexander, Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler. None of them exists. Outside," Travis pointed, is the jungle of 60,002,055 years before President Keith. He indicated a metal path that wound off into the distance over a streaming swamp among giant trees and plants. And that, he said, is the path laid by Time Safari for your use. It doesn't touch so much as one piece of grass, flower, or tree. It's made of a special metal that floats 6 inches above the earth. This is to keep you from touching this world of the past in any way. Stay on the path. Don't go off it. I repeat, don't go off for any reason. If you fall off, it'll cost you a lot of money. And don't shoot any animal we don't okay. Why? Asked Eccles. The machine sat in the ancient jungle. Distant bird cries blew on a wind. There was a smell of wet grass and an old salt sea. There were huge flowers on the trees, the color of blood. We don't want to change the future. We don't have a place here in the past. The government doesn't like us here. We have to pay a lot of money to certain people to be able to be here. Running a time machine, a difficult business. Not knowing it, we might kill an important animal, a small bird, an insect, a flower even. Doing that could destroy an important link in a growing species. I don't understand, said Eccles. All right, Travis continued. Say you accidentally step on one mouse here, and it dies. That means all the future families of that one particular mouse are destroyed. Right? Right. And all the families of the families of the families of that one mouse. With a single step, you kill first 1, then 10, then 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,billion possible mice. So they're dead, said Eccles. So what? So what? Answered Travis a little angrily. Well, what about the foxes that'll need those mice to survive? For want of 10 mice, a fox dies. For want of 10 foxes, a lion dies. For want of a lion, all manner of insects, birds, countless billions of life forms are destroyed. Then, 59 million later, a caveman, only one of 12 in the whole world, goes hunting wild animals for food. But you, my friend, have stepped on all the animals in that region by stepping on one single mouse. So, the caveman does not have enough food and dies. And that caveman, please note, is not just any man. No. He is a future nation. He would have 10 sons, and they would have 100 sons, and so on to create a whole race. Destroy this one man, and you destroy a nation, and that part of our history that goes with it. The step of your foot on one mouse could start a series of events, the effects of which could shake our earth and future down through time. With the death of that one caveman, 1,billion others will die before they are born. Perhaps Rome never rises on its 7 hills. Perhaps Europe is forever a dark forest, and only Asia rises healthy and full of people. Step on a mouse, and you pull down the pyramids. Step on a mouse, and you leave your mark, like a Grand Canyon, across all time. Queen Elizabeth might never be born. There might never be a United States. So be careful. Stay on the path. Never step off. I see, said Eccles. Then it wouldn't pay for us to even touch the grass? Correct. Destroying certain plants could have an effect too small to be seen now, but it could add up bit by bit over 60 million years into major change. Of course, this may all be wrong. Maybe time can't be changed by us, or maybe it can be only be changed in little ways that no one will notice. A dead mouse here could mean a few too many insects there, but a huge increase in insect populations millions of years later. Crops destroyed over wide areas, millions dead from not having enough food, and finally changes in the social structure of whole countries. Or it could take something even smaller. A soft breath, a whisper, a hair, pollen on the air. Such a slight change that unless you looked close, you wouldn't see it. Who knows? Who can really say he knows? We don't know. We're guessing. But until we do know for certain whether we're messing around in time can make a big difference to our history, we're being careful. This machine, this path, your clothing and bodies were sterilized, as you know, before the journey. We wear these oxygen helmets so we can't introduce our bacteria into ancient air. How do we know which animals to shoot? They're marked with red paint, said Travis. Today, before our journey, we sent Lesbrance back with the machine. He came back to this time and followed certain animals. Studying them? Right, said Lisbrance. I follow them through their whole lives, noting which of them lives longest. Very few. How many times they have young? Not often. Life's short. When I find one that's going to die by accident, such as when a tree falls on him, I note the exact hour, minute, and second. I shoot a paint bomb. It leaves a red mark on his side. We can't miss it. Then I plan our journey into the past so that we meet the monster not more than 2 minutes before he would have died anyway. This way, we only kill animals with no future that are never going to have young again. You see how careful we are? But if you came back this morning in time, said Eccles excitedly, you must have met us on our safari. How did it turn out? Was it successful? Did all of us get through alive? Travis and Lisbrance gave each other a look. That would be a paradox, said Lisbrance. Time doesn't permit that sort of thing. A man meeting himself. When such things look like happening, time moves out of the way, like an airplane hitting an air pocket. You felt the machine jump just before we stopped? That was us, passing ourselves on the way back to the future. We saw nothing. There's no way of telling if this safari was a success, if we got our monster, or whether all of us, meaning you, Mr. Eccles, got out alive. Mr. Eccles smiled weakly. Enough, said Travis sharply. Everyone on his feet. They were ready to leave the machine. The jungle was high, and the jungle was broad, and the jungle was the whole world forever and ever. Sounds like music and sounds like flying tents filled the sky. Those were pterodactyls, flying high above with huge gray wings. Eccles, standing on the narrow path, pointed his rifle at one playfully. Stop that, said Travis. Don't even point your gun at something for fun, you fool. If your gun should go off. Eccles looked angry. Where's our Tyrannosaurus? Lisbrance checked his watch. In front of us. We'll meet him in 60 seconds. Look for the red paint. Don't shoot till we give the word. Stay on the path. Stay on the path! They moved forward in the wind of the morning. Strange, said Eccles quietly. In 60 million years, election day over, Keith made president, everyone's celebrating, and here we are, 1,000,000 years lost, and they don't exist. The things we worried about for months, a lifetime, not even born or thought of yet. Safety catches off, everyone, ordered Travis. You first shot, Eccles. Second, Billings. Third, Kramer. I've hunted tiger, wild pig, buffalo, elephant, but now this is it, said Eccles. I'm shaking like a kid. Ah, said Travis. Everyone stopped. Travis raised his hand. There, he whispered, in the mist. There he is. There's his royal majesty now. The jungle was wide and full of sounds. Suddenly, it all stopped, as if someone had shut a door. Silence. A sound of thunder. Out of the mist, 100 yards away, came Tyrannosaurus Rex. It, whispered Eccles. Shh! It came on great oiled, powerful legs. It towered 30 feet above half of the trees, a great evil god, holding its small arms close to its oily chest. Each lower leg was like a powerful machine, 1,000 pounds of white bone sunk in thick ropes of muscle, covered in rock-like skin. Each upper leg was a ton of meat and bone as strong as steel. From the great chest 2 tiny arms hung out front, arms with hands which might pick up and examine men like toys, as the snake-like neck made itself ready to eat them, as the head itself, like a ton of shaped stone, lifted easily upon the sky. Its mouth was open, showing a fence of teeth like large, sharp knives. Its huge eyes rolled, empty of all expression except hunger. It closed its mouth in a deadly smile. It ran, its body pushing trees and bushes out of the way as if they were not there. As it moved, its feet dug into the wet earth, leaving footprints 6 inches deep wherever it put its weight. It ran far too smoothly for its 10 tons. It moved into an area of sunlight and suddenly stopped, its beautifully reptilian hands feeling the air. Why, said Eccles and wondered, it could reach up and take hold of the moon. Shh, Travis said angrily. He hasn't seen us yet. It can't be killed, Eccles said quietly, as if there were no argument. He had weighed the evidence, and this was his considered opinion. The rifle in his hand seemed a toy. We were fools to come. This is impossible. Shut up, whispered Travis. Nightmare. Turn around, commanded Travis. Walk back to the machine. We'll give you back half your fee. I didn't think it would be this big, said Eccles. I made a mistake. That's all. And now I want out. It sees us. There's red paint on its chest. The great dinosaur raised itself. Its thick skin shone like 1,000 green coins. The coins were covered by a thick, sticky liquid in which tiny insects moved. The whole body seemed to move, even though the monster itself stood still. It breathed out. The terrible smell of dead meat blew down upon them. Get me out of here, said Eccles. It was never like this before. I was always sure I'd come through alive. I had good guides, good safaris and safety. This time I got it wrong. I've met my match. This is too much for me to handle. Don't run, said Lesperance. Turn around. Hide in the machine. Yes. Eccles seemed unable to move. He looked at his feet as if trying to make them walk. He gave a cry of helplessness. Eccles! He looked as if he could not understand what was happening, and took a few small steps. Not that way! The monster, at the first motion, ran forward with a terrible scream. It covered 100 yards in 6 seconds. The rifles lifted and fired. The monster roared, teeth shining in the sun, and the smell of old blood that came from its mouth was all around them. The rifles fired again. Their sound was lost in scream and dinosaur thunder. The reptile moved its great tail from side to side. Trees exploded in clouds of leaf and branch. The monster moved its small hands down toward the men, to break them in half, to push them into its teeth and its screaming throat. Its eyes leveled with the men. They saw themselves mirrored. They fired at the wild black circle in the center of each eye. Like a mountain avalanche, Tyrannosaurus fell. Thundering, it held onto trees and pulled them with it. It pulled and tore the metal path. The men threw themselves back and away. The body hit. 10 tons of cold meat and stone. The guns fired. The monster moved its heavy tail again, made a sudden movement of its neck, and lay still. A fountain of blood shot from its throat. Somewhere inside, a bag of liquids broke open. Sickening sprays of blood and the terrible-smelling liquid covered the hunters. They stood. The thunder died away. The jungle was silent. After the avalanche, a green peace. After the nightmare morning, Billings and Kramer sat on the pathway and were sick. Travis and Lesperance stood with smoking rifles, cursing. In the time machine, on his face, Eccles lay shaking. He had found his way back to the path, climbed into the machine. Travis came in, looked at Eccles, took some special cloth from a metal box, and returned to the others, who were still sitting on the path. Clean up. They wiped the blood from their helmets. They began to curse, too. The monster lay, a mountain of solid meat. Within, you could hear sounds as the furthest parts of it died. Everything shutting off, closing down forever. It was like standing by the engine of a train that had just crashed. The weight of its body broke the tiny arms caught underneath. The meat settled, shaking. Another sound of something breaking. Far above, a giant tree branch broke off and fell. It crashed upon the dead dinosaur with finality. There, Lesperance checked his watch. Right on time. That's the branch that was supposed to fall and kill this animal originally. He looked at the 2 hunters. You want a picture? What? We can't take a piece of it back to the future. The body has to stay right here where it would have died originally, so the insects, birds, and bacteria can get at it as they were meant to. Everything in balance. The body stays, but we can take a picture of you standing next to it. The men tried to think, but gave up, shaking their heads. They let themselves be led upon the metal path. They sank into their seats in the machine. They looked back at the dead monster, where already strange birds and golden insects were busy at the thick skin. A sound on the floor of the time machine made them turn. Eccles sat there, shaking. I'm sorry, he said at last. Get up, cried Travis. Eccles got up. Go out on the path alone, said Travis. He had his rifle pointed. You're not coming back in the machine. We're leaving you here. Lesperance held Travis's arm. Wait, stay out of this. Travis shook his hand away. This fool nearly killed us. But it isn't that so much, no. It's his shoes. Look at them. He ran off the path. That could destroy our business. We'll lose thousands of dollars. We have a contract with the government that says no one leaves the path. He left it. The fool. I'll have to report it. They might not let us travel anymore. Who knows what he's done to time, to history? Take it easy. All he did was kick up some dirt. How do we know? Cried Travis. We don't know anything. No one knows. Get out of here, Eccles. Eccles felt for his shirt. I'll pay anything. $100,000. Travis looked angrily at Eccles' checkbook and spat. Go out there. The monster's next to the path. Stick your arms up to the elbows in his mouth. Then you can come back with us. That's not fair. The monster's dead, you fool. The bullets can't be left behind. They shouldn't be left in the past. They might change something. Here's my knife. Dig them out. The jungle was alive again, full of old movements and bird cries. Eccles turned slowly to look at the hill of nightmares and fear. After a long time, like someone walking in their sleep, he walked slowly along the path. He returned, shaking, 5 minutes later. His arms were covered in blood to the elbows. He held out his hands. Each held a number of steel bullets. Then he fell. He lay where he fell, not moving. You didn't have to make him do that, said L'Esperance. Didn't I? It's too early to tell. Travis pushed the still body with his foot. He'll live. Next time he won't go hunting game like this. Okay. With a tired movement of his thumb, he gave the signal to start the machine. Switch on, he said. Let's go home. 1492, 1776, 1812. They cleaned their hands and faces. They changed their dirty shirts and pants. Eccles was up and moving around again, not speaking. Travis gave him an angry look for a full 10 minutes. Don't look at me, cried Eccles. I haven't done anything. Who can tell? Just ran off the path, that's all. A little mud on my shoes. What do you want me to do, get down and pray? We might need it. I'm warning you, Eccles. I might kill you yet. I've got my gun ready. I've done nothing wrong. It'll be okay. 1999, 2000, 2055. The machine stopped. Get out, said Travis. The room was there as they had left it, but not the same as they had left it. The same man sat behind the same desk, but the same man did not quite sit behind the same desk. Travis looked around quickly. Everything okay here? He said sharply. Fine. Welcome home. Travis did not relax. He seemed to be looking through the one high window. Okay, Eccles, get out. Don't ever come back. Eccles could not move. You heard me, said Travis. What are you looking at? Eccles stood smelling the air. There was something different about it, a difference so slight that he could not identify it. The colors, white, gray, blue, orange, in the wall, in the furniture, and the sky outside were not quite right, and there was a strange feel. His body and hands did not feel right. He stood, sensing the oddness in every part of his body. Someone somewhere must have been blowing one of those whistles that only a dog could hear. His body screamed silence in return. Outside this room, away from this man, seated at this desk, which are both not quite the same desk, lay a whole world of streets and people. What sort of world was there now? There was no telling. He could feel them moving out there. But the immediate thing was the sign painted on the office wall, the same sign he had read earlier, today, on first entering. Somehow the sign had changed. Time Safari Inc. Safaris to any year in the past. You name the animal. We take you there. You shoot it. Eccles felt himself fall into a chair. He looked at the thick mud on his boots. He broke off a piece of the mud and held it up, shaking. No, it can't be. Not a little thing like that. No! Stuck in the mud was a brightly colored butterfly. Very beautiful and very dead. Not a little thing like that. Not a butterfly, cried Eccles. It fell to the floor, more delicate and colorful than anything seen in this world. A small thing that could upset balances and cause small changes and then big changes and then huge changes, all down the years across time. Eccles' mind raced. It couldn't change things. Killing one butterfly couldn't be that important, could it? His face was cold. He asked in a frightened voice, Who won the presidential election yesterday? The man behind the desk laughed. You joking? You know very well. Deutscher, of course. Who else? Not that weak fool Keith. We've got an Iron Man now, a man who isn't afraid of anyone or anything. The official stopped. What's wrong? Eccles gave out a long, low cry as if in pain. He dropped to his knees. He tried to pick up the green and gold butterfly with shaking fingers. Can't we, he pleaded to the world, to himself, to the officials, to the machine. Can't we take it back? Can't we make it alive again? Can't we start over? Can't we? He did not move. Eyes shut, he waited, shivering. He heard Travis breathe loudly. He heard Travis lift his rifle, click the safety catch, and raise the weapon. There was a sound of thunder.